Don't even know. What is up, everyone? It is Nico and Lila here today. It is by far one of my favorite times. Uh, are jumping on lives like this and being able to communicate with amazing content creators, business owners. So Lila, before we get started with all your background and all the great things you're doing, we are talking about experimentation today. I know that's something near and dear to my heart as well as yours. What is a quick
Yeah.
tip you have for someone that's experimented in the past? They're working, what they found out works right now, yet they don't want to go experiment again. That's the question I have for you. Like, how do you get out of that like
hmm
mindset or vibe?
Um, I think that if you feel things, if you feel that excitement in the initial experimentation of, oh, look at the possibilities, like what
Mm.
could it be? I don't know. And there's just that magic in there, that spontaneity. And then think about your feelings now. When you say, okay, I've already built this, people trust me for this thing. Will I break trust with my audience if I start experimenting now? I think that's something that people usually worried about. Are they going to stop being interested in what I have to say because I'm saying something else? And the right people won't. And that's the thing that you want to know, like the most, is that your communication partners, the people who are in it for you, they will follow you and they'll bring in other people that are now relevant to your new message. There will always be people who want what you have to offer if you're trying something new.
But what if and, this is not where I wanted to go with this conversation, but I love it. That's a part of life. Uh,
Yeah.
what if you're scared? Like, what if you're like, ugh, like, what if my audience isn't gonna like it? Like, what if there's this fear there? Like, what do you do
Oh,
then?
well, then start testing in a smaller way.
Mm,
Everybody's comfortable with some step. I don't think anybody would like to say, "Hey, I'm completely paralyzed, can't move at all, I'm completely not able to develop and grow." Who's going to buy from someone like that,
mhm.
right? You're going to hit a result and then that's it. You're going to stop pushing for more. Nobody wants to hire that person. So everybody's capable of doing some kind of small movement. So find out what is the biggest small movement that you can make and do that.
I
Like
love
when I
that.
got started talking about theater on LinkedIn, oh my God, I was terrified that some e-commerce recruiter was going to not recommend me for a position of director of e-commerce at a bigger company or one in a different industry that would maybe be more exciting to me than footwear. What if they saw, oh my God, what if they saw that I was an actress, that I was still performing, or that this meant something to me? They'll see me as a joke. They won't take me seriously. They'll think that I'm going to leave a job to get a role and travel around the country again. Like they won't know. So I was terrified. And I started not with like a full video about, hey, in theater, this is what we used to do, but with just comments,
Mm.
responding to another content creator and saying, oh, that makes me think of this time when I played a fox, a flower, and a matzo ball in a show. We all have to wear lots of different hats, but they're all necessary to tell the story, and so then just throwing it out there. And even then commenting, I wouldn't have commented like that on one of the LinkedIn news editors posts. I had to find the people whose
Mm.
things I could comment on, who I felt personally safe with. So, Amy Blashka and oh my gosh, people from all over the world, Fiona Young in Hong Kong and Amy's, out on the West Coast, and my friend Rachel, who was in New York where I was, Katie Wallace, who was here in Dallas. I found these people that I felt liked me and got me, and on their posts in comments, I started writing these little tiny little mentions, and I felt safe doing that there. So experimentation in a controlled environment, I think, really leaves you open to what the outcomes of that will be, because you know that the harm is mitigated,
Mm.
creating that control for yourself.
I also, just to add on that, I think this is the one platform that I have yet to really feel that no one's like that you're by yourself. Like, this is such a community
Yeah.
environment, and you're absolutely right. Like, this is the
hmm
place to experiment. So I want to backtrack a little bit more because you've had an interesting route into kind of what you do today. Walk us through who was Layla. You know, I said I messed it up again, didn't I? Yeah.
It's okay.
I did,
It's
Lila.
Lila.
I even caught it there, but hey, that's the truth. For everyone
Yeah,
watching, I actually wrote it down when she commented that a couple of days ago, and I was like practicing, practicing, practicing. But that's the truth. This is
it's fine.
transparency right here. But
Okay.
walk us through, because you've had an interesting path here into being a business owner. Walk us through what that's looked like, because I know there are people like myself who were starting to get that entrepreneur bug and now have a company
Yeah.
or go through that.
Oh
We're
God.
we're going through it, so
Nico,
and we get
I
it.
don't like I've been in an entrepreneurial position before. I started nine called Shakespeare Anywhere, where my friend Erin and I wrote an article about this that I'll publish soon. But my friend Erin and I started this company because we had all of these skills, all of this work that we had developed in training and in being in shows, all of these monologues and sonnets from Shakespeare that were kind of sitting on this beautiful bookshelf, rich work that we had brought ourselves to, creatively developed with directors. Imagine working with the master painters of the world and creating masterpiece quality artwork and then putting it in a garage and closing the door and locking it up and never even telling anybody what's in there. It exactly. It felt like such a shame. We have this stuff. Now what? So, in the interests of performing and finding ways of using that material to at least get it up on someone's wall for just a few minutes, Erin and I started Shakespeare Anywhere. And a company was performing Shakespeare sonnets and monologues at weddings and at people's doorsteps as sort of like a singing telegram, but we had
Like a
wandering
Carolina
sonneteers.
carol, like that's
What?
awesome. Like kind of like a
Yeah.
Christmas carol.
Yes, exactly. And like just showing up and performing for people. But it wasn't like we would show up unannounced. People would order these things. So
Mm.
we could pay the actors, and actors have day jobs that are like maybe you find something that's like $20 an hour, and then you're like, sweet, now I can, barely afford my rent and sometimes maybe eat in New York City, But we were paying actors $50 an hour, and we were
Mm.
getting, $150 for a send a sonnet, which is still a lot less expensive than actually sending a singing telegram. We created something that wasn't there in the market yet. And we did it because we had this value that we knew was special, and we found a way to make it something that people in our market would pay for. We
Mm.
went and found those people. Who are the people who are going to buy this? Who are the people who want to be seen as literary, whether they are or aren't, and give this as a gift? Who are the people who would want to receive this as a gift? And at weddings, like who are the kinds that there were Renaissance fair themed weddings? I mean, it was so easy. And even with it being as good as it was and making sense as much as it did and feeling so good for everybody involved in like the performance of it and the how fast it grew, we had 150 actors around the United
Wow.
States of America and in UK, and we grew fast, like within a year. When I have good ideas and I put my strategic mind behind them, they grow. That's what
Mm.
happens. Yeah, well, and her too, but
Yeah.
but we did not have the entrepreneurial bug. We
Mm.
did not want to be running a business. We did not want to like start a nonprofit and deal with paperwork. And to be honest with you, I still don't. I still hate all of that stuff. But the difference between me now and me then is now I feel like it's my mission to bring
Mm.
intentional communication to the world. Not like, oh, I have this stuff, there's a market, and wouldn't this be fun? But I actually think I can change the way the whole world communicates through intentional communication. That other stuff that was in my garage, all of the tools and acting that I studied that can be used to connect with people one on one or in groups or out to an audience. So because I'm mission motivated now I'm willing to do the stuff that I hate until I don't have to do it anymore in service of the mission, not in service of, well, maybe this would be fun. And so we let it go. Our lives changed. We wanted to focus on our acting, our individual acting careers. We wanted to focus on our other career, mainstream professional paid careers. My other thing while I was performing professionally in New York is that like my day job was doing brand communications, marketing, email, social media, and ultimately running a department of e-commerce in the fashion industry. So that was kind of my life. for a while, and now it's this thing.
And what is this thing? Because when I hear, when I hear communication, I think a lot of people, and I had Toby on in December. A lot of people think communication's fluff, right? And I hate the term soft skill because really, in my opinion, it's one of the most important skills to have. Whether it's talking to someone, sending an email,
Mm-hmm.
uh, communication is just so important. So walk us through number one, what your stance is on like communication, and then what you guys do at the business.
Well, in business, I just start by saying, like, I help people say things better. And by better, I mean in a way that connects for
Mm,
sustainable results. So, I love that you called out the term soft skills because it makes them sound like not vital,
like options,
right?
right?
Like,
Like,
yeah, like, oh, you could just, if you think about what else is soft, right? Bedding, blankets, pillows. You're like, what's the matter with you? Couldn't you just sleep on the floor? Like, sure. How good quality of sleep would you get? I don't want to hear from like the sleep advocates for sleeping on a floor right now. This is not a conversation open for that. But there's a way to sleep, and then there's a way to sleep that you look forward to sleeping, that other people might look forward to sleeping with you. You're not going to invite a new partner into your bedroom and say, here's my wood floor,
mm,
deal with it, right? So communication is that other stuff. It's the stuff that makes you feel comfortable enough to be relaxed. And when you're relaxed, you can be your most innovative. You can be your
mm,
most responsible, because stress causes you to drop the ball, causes you to have poor work product. Decisions made under stressful circumstances are almost never the right ones. They're the minimum I can do right now to get out of this place of desperation. So communication is really necessary to make sure that none of the actual work product is suffering. Because
mm.
otherwise, what are you paying for? A wood floor? You can get that anywhere. Communication is that soft stuff. But man, like the soft stuff in our bodies keeps our bones together. You want to just be a pile of bones? No, we need that. Like, you need it. You want to send an email out that nobody will read? Okay, good for you. You're going to just like sit there and knock sticks together and hope for the best.
Mm,
You want an email subject line that is compelling? That's communication. You want it to be compelling enough to open that email. And then when you're in that email, you want the communication in it to drive someone to take a next step. Maybe it's buying something. Maybe it's reading something. Maybe it's coming out to an event. That action you want them to take, those actions that you're actually measuring, you need communication to get people to take those actions. Otherwise, what are you doing? Praying?
mm.
Like that maybe your sticks will mean something to somebody when they're not laid out in words and language. Communication it's in everything, and it's vital to have your message be clear so that everywhere someone sees it, they know it came from you. They think it's consistent, so they trust you. Consistent doesn't have to mean you have only one product that you ever talk about.
Mm.
But consistent means I understand what your values are, understand what your value is. And so it makes sense for me that you're talking about this. And if you're talking about this in a way that clearly communicates that value to me, then I might be willing to take it in. If you're not doing that, if you're not sure that your communication is driving other people to take actions that are important, then what are you really leading? You're just kind of closing your eyes and hoping for the best.
Mm.
And I'm a lot more motivated than that. And I think everyone should be in their personal life, in business. That's what I speak about. It's what I travel around as a speaker talking about, the Say Things Better method of intentional communication, which is 5 steps to be able to connect your words, your message to the person that you really care hears them. And then when I'm not speaking, I'm also using that method to consult. I do training workshops for communication for leaders in business, for larger companies, and then also do one-on-one messaging consulting for entrepreneurs like myself and like for you. And anybody who is trying to be known for something in some way, I help them to connect that message in a way that's not threatening to an existing position, in a way that is exciting for people who might be the ones to invest in them down the road. And most of all, in a way that will always feel true to themselves.
Mm.
So they're not putting on a brand. They're just being intentional about sharing the things about themselves that are really important.
One question I have that definitely relates to what we're doing right now is digital communication, because
Hmm.
again, that's how you and I connected. And I always
Yeah.
talk about the online, offline. Like we connected online, had a couple of conversations, and then now we're doing this. This is literally the first time that I've seen you and I talked to you, besides
Yeah.
like both messages. Why? Yeah, there's different ways I can phrase this question, but what are you seeing as the if you can give one tip to anyone about digital communication, how to enhance that, because I've seen people just do it terribly, where it's like the first message is sales pitch and there's no back and
Mhm.
forth. So my biggest question is, what is one tip that you have for people that are now in this digitally connected digital communication world? Like, what's something we can do better, or what are your thoughts on that?
I actually don't mind being sold to. I don't mind if somebody sends me a sales pitch, but I do mind if it shows me that if their pitch and the way that they phrased it showed that they spent zero time actually learning me and what would be
Ooh,
relevant to
that's
me.
good.
And if I see something that's a message that says, "Hey, I saw that you have great traction on LinkedIn, and in fact, your videos get thousands and thousands of views and tons of engagement. I know that you've already got a career as a speaker. Have you thought about what would happen to you and your business if you got 50 times that reach by investing in YouTube? Make a specific to
Mhm,
me and my business relevant recommendation. Open it up with a question, before you're like, our software does this, this, this. I mean, if I see something that's impersonal, I won't read it.
mm,
And so your communication is just sticks and hope. If you send me something that connects, it's gonna be because of your effort. And I
mm,
know a lot of people do like hate the sales messages. And I think that honestly, if your thing is I want to go into messages, then go to sales messages, but them something that connects. You're going to be missing out on a lot of business though, if you go right into the sale and not into the exploration, not into actual prospecting and learning about a person and their business and what the actual needs are that would compel them to take that next action.
mm.
So I would just say, like, my number one tip, do your research and use it to personalize your communication.
Oh, I love that. And again, as you probably saw, after you said the like again, and this is something I need to get better at. I also don't mind sales pitches if they are contextualized. I think
Mhm.
when I think about sales pitches, especially on this platform, it's very cold. It's very like, this is much like you said. This is our software. This is our product. Buy it. Um, I have, on the other hand, converted on people when they're like, "Hey, there, I see that this might be something of use to you. I've gone to your website, blah blah blah. Maybe this is interesting." That I will say, and as soon as you said that, I was like, "Yep, she's right. She's absolutely right." And on that note, what do you think most people do struggle with? Because I think, in my personal opinion, as a outsider, as a fan of communication, I do it a little bit here and there. There's no cookie cutter solution to communication, and I kind of want to tie this back into experimenting, because
Yeah.
it's to me, like, that's how you find your voice or whatnot. But so walk me through, like, in there's different ways I want to take this, but really, like, walk me through what most people struggle with when it comes to communication.
People struggle with knowing what their value is. So they grasp at straws and ends up confusing their message.
Hmm.
They're saying, like, if I just throw 100 pieces of information at you, surely one of them will stick, right? Like throwing spaghetti at the wall to see if it's done cooked. Like, maybe we can eat this. I don't know. What do you think? Are you this hungry? But if you just think about personalization rather than about being desperate, you actually will come up with those answers yourself for what your value is really quickly.
Hmm.
And I know there's no one cookie cutter way of communicating or of offering solutions or what will work for the people that you're talking to as opposed to who I'm talking to. But the Say Things Better method is 5 steps that are based on a rehearsal process I used in theater. And this method allowed room for experimentation, allowed room for testing, allowed room for being who I am in a role, as opposed to, who Maggie Gyllenhaal would be in a role, or who Kate Hudson would be in a role, or who Viola Davis would be in a role. that very different actresses would show up in the same role very differently because of who we are. But the method we would use to get our story and our presence, our energy out through the fiction of this character that was written by someone else, that process is the same. So I wanted to bring that process to people for their own communication, because people know where to start. They're just throwing things out there and hoping that it sticks. So it gives people a way to start, just very organized. So we can go through those 5 steps, and maybe, maybe you can be kind of a test subject if you're willing to just play a little bit. Yes?
I'm more
Okay. So let's start at the end, and then we'll go back to the beginning.
Love it.
So the 5th step is verb your values. And this is the thing that you can use to check all of your work, no matter what it is you're communicating, whether you're speaking to a parent, or you're speaking to a client, or your employer, or a vendor, or an ice cream truck, sales girl, or whoever, a child, anybody that you're talking to. We all have values for what is important for us to make other people feel. It's important for me to make people feel that they are already enough, that they come to the table with value. So you hear it in the content of what I say a lot, but it's also in my intent. I intend to make people feel affirmed. So one of my values in verb form is to affirm. And having that verb means I can make a promise. I promise to affirm you when we talk. And I promise to affirm you when I listen to you. So to affirm, and then my other 2 values are to connect and to empower. So that's kind of my recipe for how it feels when I communicate, when I talk and when I listen. Everything has to get scanned past that. You're looking at the content of the words that you're sharing. Does this empower people? Or can I put more value into it? Does this connect with people or personalize it? Does this affirm people? Or can I put in an exclamation point or something? Or put in a picture that shows some kind of motivational, inspirational, you can do this kind of image? What else can I add in? And what do I need to take out in order for people to feel affirmed, connected, and empowered? So just as a way to check your work and the process that you make to everyone you communicate with all day, what are the verbs that you think help you to make someone else feel something? What do you want to do to someone when Nico DeBrain communicates?
It's a good thing, and I'm gonna borrow one from you, which is to empower. But mine would probably be to empower and to motivate people. So those 2, because that's what my business does, right? Is to motivate people to take marketing into their own hands. And my mission is to leave everyone I meet better than I found them. So I think both of those, to empower and to motivate, fall into that category. There's probably 1 or 2 verbs that after we end, I'm going to be like, oh, I need a texture this.
Oh, I can give you like 100,000 verbs right now. And also it's important for people to know that this is where experimentation comes in too. I used these verbs before I went on stage and acting to determine what my character was going to try to make that other character feel, by me as an actress trying to make that other actor feel something real in a moment. I'm trying to intimidate. I'm trying to seduce. I'm trying to excite, trying to energize, trying to mobilize, the things that you choose to do. So I have tried on 100,000 verbs, at least, over 20 years of acting study, 10 of which were years that I was studying and continuing to perform. The best actors are always in study. They're always continuing to learn and grow. But I've tried lots of them. So you have the whole rest of your life to get this right. But it's always better to pick any positive intention than to have no intention at all. So you're not going to get it wrong. You could try one of the things that I think that I've observed you doing, or that the impact of me, to me, of your communication has been to befriend. I think that you're very accessible and warm and sweet, and you make it really casual and relaxed of an environment to be around you. And I can't imagine that that's just with me. So is that one of your values? Do you want people to feel that they have a friend in you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no,
Then to be friends might be one of yours.
Oh, I love it. So I'm going to take a little note real quick.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, you can also catch the replay.
Oh, that's true. Boom.
Yeah. Well, you can timestamp it. Okay, we're at 24 minutes and 47 seconds into the recording.
Boom.
And so just about 2 minutes ago, we thought maybe Nico's verbs are to empower, to motivate, and to befriend. Now, it's important that one of your verbs be a listening verb because, especially for people who have a mission, we're on a mission to tell people everything we know. Your mission can only get through if people trust that you will listen to them and their needs or them when they say things. Not only because you'll discover stuff, but because that's how people trust that you're not just in it for yourself. The difference between like selling and empowering is that empowering also means I'm going to give you the floor. So empowering somebody else could mean I've given you these tools and now go use them. And I'm going to cheer you on. It could mean something different for each person who uses it. So that's verb your values. Verb your values determine the feeling that Gatorade. Gatorade as a brand, their values might be to fuel, to champion, to motivate, any of these things, to quench. You could say like, what are people hungry for or thirsty for? Let's give them that and let's give them a lot of it. So if I were running Gatorade's brand communications, I would scan everything that went out, all of our training materials. How are we communicating to our social media team, to our internal leadership? Are we fueling, championing, and quenching the people who work here, who follow us, all of that? And as a person, it just guides how you communicate with the people that you're talking to one-on-one. And that's how you have this consistency between internal and external communication. So that's the most important part. It's that fifth step. But to get there, if you actually want to get a result that is specific in your communication, number one is your motivation. That's that ultimate guiding statement for companies. It's a mission statement. Do you have one, Nico? Do you have something like for your work, some kind of message statement?
Yeah. So my message statement is, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but it's to leave everyone I meet better than I found them. As long as it hits that specific thing, then I know that interaction, that communication was positive for me.
I wonder if one of your verbs is to enrich.
To enrich. Oh, interesting.
Enrich. Yeah. But to leave someone better than you found them. It's not I commit to giving these tools to some. So some people, their verb is to equip, meaning like I'm going to come with a bunch of tools. But sometimes people just need someone to listen to them.
Oh, absolutely.
So that might leave someone better than when you found them. And that might be one of the ways that you enrich someone's life before they came to you and then they left after feeling more full, more rich, more of value than they were before, thanks to your presence in their life. Could be. I don't know. But I love that. And so like that's a motivation statement. Motivation statements are great for keeping you accountable and also scanning your objectives to say like, okay, why is it my objective to get someone to buy this? Well, because if they buy it, it will enrich them in some way. It will leave them better than I found before. And it also holds accountable to providing quality connections and quality material that actually does enrich them. So it's an accountability tool, our motivation statements. Then that objective is your second step.
Yeah, I love the both the mission and the verb act as filters. Because again, much like like it's so much, and then having these specific things that would kind of filter down the things that aren't on.
They all are filters. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of these tools take you from being like, I don't know, one of these many things to actually it's exactly this. And when you have that focus that it's exactly this, there are still going to be thousands of things that could fall under that umbrella, but it won't be infinite. It'll be focused. So you have your motivation statement, and then you pick one objective for one communication event at a time. So we talked about email marketing before and subject lines. Your subject line's objective is not to sell a program. Your subject line's objective is to get you to open the email. So that's it. Write a subject line that is compelling enough to get someone to open the email. The objective of the email is to make them feel like that action was worth it. I got enough value out of opening this email that I continue to open emails and not unsubscribe. Once you're in there, you can say, like, how much value would it actually take? And this is how you measure that value. Did they find it valuable enough to take an action? So your objective for that message is to make it valuable enough to take this action. That action could be RSVP for my event, follow me on social media, read the rest of this blog, which is then, the objective would be to drive traffic to the website with that action. You pick one objective for that email. And one of the mistakes that I see people doing is sending these very, very long things that have more than one objective in it. So we're confused on which action to take. And it leaves us with decision paralysis. The same as when you have a big menu at like the Cheesecake Factory and you're like, I don't know. And you end up ordering the same thing that you always get.
Yep. Absolutely.
It doesn't convert you to ordering something else. I do that. I order the same thing. When I go to restaurants, if it were only like 3 things on the menu, I'd say, okay, I can trust that those 2 things will always be there. But today I'm going to try this. So just think about that, like how many options you're throwing at people and how well that does in converting anyone to any of them.
I love it.
So that picking that one objective for that one communication event at a time keeps your message valuable enough for that place. You can also think about like the room that you're in. So for you might have a different objective doing live videos on LinkedIn than you would doing live videos on Facebook.
Oh, absolutely.
What's the difference that you can expect? So I'm asking you, Nico, like if you do a live video on LinkedIn, this is a communication event. You have 2 communication partners. One is me, and the other is your community, the people who are here watching us. So what can you hope for this to be a win? Just considering them, like forget me for a minute, because I'm just happy to be around you. But what is the value to those people in the audience? And what action do you want them to take after watching you on lives?
Yeah, and that's why I always start with one specific takeaway at the very beginning, because I know that some people are going to run and watch this later and whatnot. So my biggest objective for anyone I bring here is for them to get something of value that they can apply today. That's whether it's my own content or bringing you in. It's always what's the one thing that they can take and learn and then apply today.
Okay, so then your objective is to become known as someone who provides actionable value all the time.
Absolutely.
That's why you do this. It's nice to do it like for someone else, but charitable time can be spent anyway, and you've chosen to do it this way for a reason.
Yes.
Ultimately, you want to build trust, and this communication event is one building block. So that's also how you can scan it past your motivation. Like, okay, does the objective to become known through this communication event as being someone that people can always trust for enriching value that is actionable? Does that your ultimate goal of making everyone that you meet or come across better in some way for having spent time with you? And the answer then would be, yeah, it totally does. So that's enough. That's enough to focus your value and to say, okay, let me make sure that this is valuable enough for those people to give me the yes on that, to say, yes, I trust that you're going to always give me actionable advice. So you then think about step 3, which is your communication partner's objective. Why do they not leave the page? Why do they consistently come into your lives? What is in it for them? What do they really want? What's driving? So what is driving the people that are, your pretty consistent audiences? What's driving them to keep coming here for you? What do they want to get out of it?
Yeah, again, I think it goes back to what we just said. It's value, right? Like they can spend their time anywhere on online, LinkedIn, or anywhere actually. And I want them to come to my page, regardless of what's going on in their lives, to know that I'm consistently going to be there providing value. So I actually haven't thought about that, but really that's a consistent value. Everything else is happening.
What kind of value do you think is going to be valuable to them?
Right.
You think that they come here to you, for example, for healthy Whole30 recipes?
It's it's definitely even though I have a chiseled physique, as you can tell right now.
Yeah,
My doctor said that I need to actually work on that. But anyway, it's marketing. Really, that's why I think
great.
so
People
actionable
want
marketing the best.
actionable, valuable marketing tips. Why do they want marketing tips? What are they hoping to achieve with their marketing knowledge?
To reach more people that are. I always like to say like communicate in the best places at the lowest cost. So that's gonna
Oh, great. Okay, that's their objective.
yeah.
Nico's communication partner's objective is to communicate in the best places at the lowest cost. So now it's your job to move on to step 4, which is your toolbox. What do you have that you can offer of value that will both engage them and build that trust and give them the ability to do that?
Mhm.
What do you have that you can put into this live session that's going to teach those people this day something new? Do you have like 100 pieces of advice that you could give 100 days, each of which would be enriching and empowering to people?
Well, as someone who posts 5 times a day, I think so. I think I have that. I also think
You'd have to have 1,500 at least, you know?
I know I'm slacking, but yeah, I think it's the access I have to amazing resources and people like yourself.
Mhm.
That's one way to do it. I think
Yeah,
it's
I'm in your toolbox. I'm totally in your toolbox.
right, and hopefully I'm in
Yeah,
yours as well.
yeah.
The book that's behind me, right there, or the way there, that I've purposely written so that people don't have to spend the year that I had to spend interviewing and testing and failing, experimenting. Um,
Mhm.
and it's the fact that I, much like what you said earlier, it's I'm always learning, right? Like I'm always showing up. I'm always dedicating time to learn, so I could simplify things for the people that. That's not really a tangible tool, but
Mhm.
I think it's something there. But yeah, it's a book, resources, and just the fact that I'm doing it every single day. So I'm learning all these
Consistency.
skills.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah, you hit on something important, which is that your toolbox is not just the actionable advice that you provide. It's the full picture of value. It's building trust to ultimately take that action that you wanted them to take,
mm,
which was believe in you as a consistent source of enriching value. That's your only goal for doing these live things. So
absolutely.
the value then that you pull out of your toolbox are a whole array of things. I would suggest talking about your book more because it does build trust that you were like one able to complete a project of that size and depth.
Mm,
Two, you have like quotes from people who've read it. Social is thing in your toolbox. You have reviews of the book. You have questions that people have asked you about it. You have reviews on sites like Amazon or wherever it's sold, and seeing how many sales there are of it. Those kinds of things build trust in other people who have discovered you or read your book yet. Just the
mm,
fact that there is one. So like if you're going on these lives and you're talking to somebody, so pick a tool, pick a tip from your book for me or a question and bring that into this conversation. Because right now it's been a lot of like me and what I do, but I would love to hear from you. What do you think is a tip that would be relevant to me? And having your guests, I'm having your audience see, you can strategically pick a piece of advice that's right for your guest, will draw them to lead the inference. You could do the same for them,
mm.
and that they should buy the book because there's good stuff in it.
It's funny that you've actually done the biggest favor, which is in chapter 14 or 15. I interviewed Mark Metry about a topic near and dear to both of our hearts, which is experimenting, and
Mm-hmm.
not just with content, but with really like everything, right? And why it's so important to do so. So
Yeah,
even from the get, you introduced that topic. So that's I think we've kind of established that without even thinking about it, which is
that's
interesting.
great. So I should go to chapter 14 and read more about experimentation. But also, now, because we've had this whole conversation about experimentation, that I know a lot about that already. So,
Hmm.
what's a topic from your book that you don't know for sure that I already know a lot about? What's going to leave me better than better? What's something else?
Yeah. So the first one that came to my mind is the chapter I have about the North Star, and it's something that I think we've touched on, but uh, honestly, in everything that no, you know what? That's not. I was hesitant to say this one, but it's my principle on the 3 E's, right? It's how do you actually get people to pay attention to the content that you have, which is to entertain, to educate, and to engage. So
Those
basically,
sound like your values right there.
it kind of is, and
You
that's why
have three verbs. Yeah.
that's why I was hesitant to jump in there, because I was like, oh, we kind of talked about it, but really it's in this conversation, it's in everything. It's if you can't entertain someone to get their attention, if you can't educate them to build trust, if you can't engage with them to build context around the conversation or the solution, then everything falls apart. So that's something potentially that you didn't know, that you've mentioned, but maybe haven't heard in that way, that could have been beneficial.
Yeah, it's interesting to think, especially about entertaining. It's interesting to think about entertaining as something you think people must do. Because I don't know that that's true. I think that but maybe it is. So this is an interesting topic because I'm not sure about this. So it was a perfect choice, actually. To entertain is one of Doug Thompson's values in verb form. It's on his enhanced CV that I just made for him as a speaker, which is his speaker one sheet, the different keynotes he has, his UMAP and how that shows up, some experience, what makes him the best tech story speaker to help people get technical ideas across through story. And so to entertain is one of his values. He loves to show up in a room and be entertaining. And you think it's important to be entertaining to get somebody to take an action. But entertainment is also a value. Fun, humor, entertainment, like those are values that not all people do. Some people are not looking to be entertained. They are looking to be educated. So having that triple check, you want to build, let's say it's a subject line. Do you have to entertain everybody in that subject line? No, but the people who do need to be entertained, having it there means they'll open it. The people who want to feel like, oh, they're talking to me. You can use specific examples, call them out specifically. Hey, small business owners, that engages them. And then something compelling, like to entertain people, and to educate people. The people who really only want to open an email if they feel that they'll learn something new, you'll need to include that information, little hints of it in that subject line. So no matter who your customer is and what they value, there's going to be a specific subset of people who really look to you for content because of that combination. Whereas they might look to me for a different feeling about themselves or about what's possible for them. They'll look to you for some education, some backstory, some tips, and kind of to have a lot of fun. So that kind of person, there'll be two different people. And that's why there's no such thing as competition. Because as soon as you get clear on who you are, those people who want exactly that person will be like, oh, it's a no-brainer. I want Nico. It's a no-brainer. I want Erin Sanchez to write my copy. It's a no-brainer. I want Lila Smith to reword my LinkedIn profile summary so that it feels like me. I want, and that's just like one of a bunch of things that I can do. But like there are billions of things that we can all do when we know what our value is.
Absolutely.
I think it's that entertaining piece is important for people who value entertainment.
The only little thing I will say to that is I think the notion of being entertained takes many forms. So much like some people prefer video versus text, my thinking with entertainment, and the only thing I'll add to what you said is entertainment can mean different things to some people. Potentially it's just seeing that person, or it's the type of copy that you read, right? So that's the only thing I will say to that is entertainment is subjective to the people you're trying to reach, much like what you just said.
It's interesting. Yeah. Well, do you think that it's universal that everybody wants to be entertained in some way?
If you, so we let's take our relationship for instance, right?
Yeah.
If you didn't think that I was entertaining, whatever you define as entertaining, with the content I put up, all that fun stuff, I don't think you would have made it to the second step, which is getting educated on who I am and building trust.
True, but I value entertainment.
Yeah. So so you as a specific person, maybe for video, right, needed to see me here do my thing. But for someone else.
True. Yes. I think if people are going to watch a video, they're almost always looking to be entertained.
Exactly. Well, and in my copy, a lot of mine are Q&A, educational based content pieces, but I'll throw in a little like fun, emoji or something to get their attention, to really like to entertain, right? Like it's just entertaining for one's eye to see a heart
Hmm.
or see a color, because we see black and white every single day. So adding a small pinch of color in my copy, especially the subject line, grabs attention. So one could
Hmm.
say that that's entertaining to one's eye, even though it's an educational
Oh, I
piece.
like that. Yeah, I
So
really like that.
that's just one little piece. So in my experience, you have to, and it basically, entertainment is any means to grab attention. So if it's through even adding a simple emoji or doing a video or something like this with, you see our names down here or logos in the background and whatnot, it's all to get someone to get attention. So because if I don't have your attention, I can't build trust with you because I just fade into the
True.
background.
Yeah. So I looked up the definition of entertainment because I think it's just interesting to see how we each have our own definition and now like what is the definition.
Hmm.
So according to Google and whatever their source is here, as a noun, entertainment is the action of providing or being provided with amusement or enjoyment.
Ooh,
I kind of like that. Like if
I do too.
somebody is compelled to take action, it's going to be because they think they'll have a good time. They think that they will enjoy going further. I like enjoyment as like a metric for whether or not someone has given you their attention.
Hmm.
Like I give you my attention because I think I'm going to enjoy doing this. It's going to make me feel better.
I like that too, because it's true. It encapsulates both what our opinions into that. So that's
Yeah.
good old Google right there.
And that's why to experiment and why to be like open and I'm so glad I didn't look up the definition before we could talk about this and explore it together.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
amazing.
cool.
Oh, I love that. So we are getting to the tail end of this conversation.
Mhm.
And this is, I'll get my soapbox for a quick second here, because this is real.
Yeah.
I tell people like online, offline, it matters, like being able to jump on phone calls and conversations, but you have to actually be willing to be vulnerable and jump, right? Like take the online direct messages offline. My computer's heating up
Mhm.
like no other, but that's okay because it knows that this is the
Fry
best.
an egg on it and have some breakfast.
Um,
Yeah.
so we're at the
It's
tail end. What is one last piece of advice you can give everyone listening who's been so mesmerized by our conversation, especially yours, because you've given me so many little nuggets. What's one last piece of advice you would give them in regards to communication, experimenting, whichever one you would like?
oh gosh, just get into conversations and
Mm,
be unattached from the outcome of what those, what will come from it. Like have an objective to connect with the other person and to share ideas.
mm,
So have that be like go into conversations with that as an objective. That I'm going to go into this and I'm going to share and I'm also going to learn. I'm going to be open to receiving, open to being wrong, open to being more right than I even realized that I would be. And so just get into them, get into the conversations, have the things that feel possible.
mm. So I'm dropping your URL in the comments, but what is one action that the 16 amazing people on this live can do to help you, not just personally, but in the business? What's one thing that we can do to help you, support you?
If there is someone watching who feels like you're really not sure exactly what you bring to the table that other people are going to start paying for
Mm-hmm.
and magnetize that they're going to give you money for it, talk to me and I will help you to figure out what your message is. And in so, like also what your product offering is. What is the thing that you're ready to market? And when you're ready to market it, we can work on some of the copy, but then you'll take it over to Nico and he will help you create a marketing plan for here's your email, here are your social channels, here's where your customer avatar is, here's where they are, here's where you can find them, here's what it is to do a podcast, all of the actual actions that you can then take he'll be a partner to you for. But come to me first so that you know what it is that you're trying to market.
Oh, absolutely. And I can tell you guys, I have struggled for the last 2.5, 3 years to finally get to the point where I'm like, I know, like these questions I've tested and just, kind of stumbled my way across. If what happened in this 30, 40-minute conversation can happen to you, it's going to save you so much time. So spend the money, get the help that you need, because if I could go back to when I got started, and we'll jump off in a second because I want to talk to you about a bunch of stuff, but yeah, you need this. It's critical. Like I can only create the content, and actually, like all content creators can only create the content because we know exactly why we're doing it and sustain it for a long
Right.
time. So I couldn't agree anymore. Besides LinkedIn, any other social platforms that you frequent, or is LinkedIn is the favorite?
I'm on Instagram at Lila Lasagna.
Oh, I love that.
Thanks.
I
That's
love
a nickname in a certain group of people who know what I'm really good for.
meatballs. There you go. I said it.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Well, thank you so much for jumping on. Like I said, I'm going to definitely send you this because I think there's so many little gold nuggets. But thank you for jumping on. I'm going to
Thank
end the
you.
event
Yeah.
here. I will chat with you for a couple more minutes. But thank
Okay.
you for being on, and everyone, thank you for tuning in today. Have a fantastic rest of your Monday. And if you don't have work today, awesome. Enjoy it. Start experimenting and start putting your message out there. I guess.
Bye.